I've admired Philip Kinsella's work for some time, his mediumship, his philosophy, and his spiritual teaching. And now he's a published author. Hi, Philip.
Hello, Paul. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
Philip, as a medium,
Mm-hmm.
you're in touch with the spirit world,
Yes.
those who've passed over, naturally. Do you see them? Do you hear? How does it work?
We are clairsentient, which means that we sense, and clairvoyant, which means that we see. When we say that we're clairvoyant and we see, we don't always see spirit like next to someone. We see it visually. It's rather like being in a daydream and I ask you to visualise Buckingham Palace. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to see it within your mind's eye. Yeah. The sensory connection, or the link with sensing, with mediumship, is very interesting because sometimes if someone who's passed over has lost a leg or the right leg, I will feel it as though there is no leg there.
But what about voices? Do you hear those?
No,
you don't?
No, not normally. I mean, I'll end up probably sounding very, very daft, but sometimes a voice, you will feel like you hear it within your head. Like a name, normally I'll get a name through on that level. Mm-hmm.
So going back to the beginning,
yeah,
were you one of those gifted children, like a natural born psychic, a natural born medium?
All I knew is that I was aware that I was very different from other kids, that I had some very strange paranormal happenings. And many years later, when I went to go and see a medium that worked with the FBI in America, she told me that I was what they'd call a born medium.
Now, as a medium, did you work in churches?
Spiritualist
churches?
Yeah. I mean, when I started, I didn't really have any intention of wanting to become a medium. It wasn't something I set out to do. Something happened to me where I saw a friend of mine who had died, and I started seeing lights and orbs, and I went to the spiritualist churches, and time again the mediums would say, you should be on platform, and I said, no, I'm not going on platform. But they got me up. And then I started to do lots of churches in my early days. I was booked up to my eyeballs with churches.
Like some mediums, you've made a transition from the church to the stage.
Yes.
And the media. How did that happen, Philip?
I was actually put forward for the Mediumship Award of 2008 in Portsmouth. I was selected from about 400 people to demonstrate in front of a panel of judges in 2008, which was very, very nerve-wracking. And you started off with 20 people, then 10, and then down to 4, and then and I won it.
But how on earth do you win a spiritual award? I mean, what's the criteria?
Evidence. Absolute perfect evidence. Some people will say, well, that can relate to anyone, but I'm very specific, and I'd say to them, well, you weren't nearly bitten by a shark, or you didn't go down in a helicopter, and of course, not everyone's person or male in the family would go down in a helicopter, or the parachute from their their parachute won't open, and there's hundreds of thousands of ways that someone dies, passes over. Yeah.
There must be a great sense of self-satisfaction, if you don't mind me saying so, from giving a message to someone on earth, from someone who's passed over.
Yeah, I think that satisfaction comes more from those that have passed on to the other side. And to have that ability to be able to link a person, a child to his mother, you know how much that must feel for the mother to know that that child has survived, and that they would be reunited together again. The same as what mothers must feel when they lose a baby, to see their face glow, to know that the child is not lost, that the universe is not just wasted energy and everything is just, chaotic. I do not believe in that, and I never have.
So what's going on? Before you give evidential message, say to a mother who's lost a child.
Yes.
What's going on in heaven or the spirit world? Are they getting ready to come down to give a message?
Yeah, I used to think naively that someone rung a bell up there and they'd come running. They actually tune in to the mother's thoughts, that they know the mother is going to see a medium or a sensitive, and that the child will be ready. Now, what we don't realise is that children grow up in the spirit world. And people find that really hard to believe, because they believe that when we pass over, we stop. At that time, we don't. In fact, because we're high energy, it can be moulded. We can become any age we want, as unbelievably as it sounds, because it is a mental plane. The child is brought forward and is then connected to the mother.
But what happens to a baby that doesn't go the full term in pregnancy?
Okay, yeah, a child that is miscarried, or some other method of transition, an accident or whatever, they return back to the spirit world. They may have wanted to abort the mission, because when we come down here, we don't just randomly pick anyone. It's a long process of deliberation and calculation about who we're going to be with, what life experiences we're going to have. You don't go in a car and just go anywhere. You normally plan a journey.
But that baby or child would be still linked to the mother,
Oh,
even though
absolutely.
it wasn't born on
Absolutely,
Earth.
totally. And the really the wonderful thing is that when the mother returns back to the spirit world, she will recognize the child, because there are people on the other side who we will recognize that we don't know here. Our spirit guides are one of them. You know, people talk, and I used to think that was all very cranky stuff about spirit guides until I was blown away with the evidence that my guide was bringing through mentally about him.
Philip, I had the honour of working with you as a guest of yours on stage
Yeah.
not too long ago.
Uh-huh.
I was knocked out by how fast you gave the messages.
Right.
Is that something that's come with experience, or has it come all of a sudden?
I've had that since I started mediumship. It really is quite strange, because when I'm linking with someone, I normally look away from them when I'm reading for them, and I'm shown an image or feel a sensation, and that starts to create the language. But sometimes we do get someone that I can't read for, as a person that I get nothing for, or it's really hard to read. That does happen to every medium.
Why does that happen?
It could be because the medium's having a bad day, or that the link between the person that you're trying to get through to is very narrow. It could be a number of reasons.
Yeah. You've written 2 books.
Yes.
Let's talk about your books.
Okay.
First one, Reaching for the Divine. Explain a little about this one too.
I wanted to write a book that people would be able to understand how spirit communication is achieved, because when this started to happen to me, I never understood, when I was reading the books, it was all about mediums and how great they were and wonderful they were, and about all these stories, but not about how the process worked. So I wanted to write a book where people would be able to buy the book, and also be able to understand the process of spirit communication and say, that's how it works. Now we understand.
But now your other book, it's quite a jump, called Believe.
Yes.
How on earth did you get from spiritual teaching to UFOs?
I wanted to bridge the gap between the psychic and the UFO phenomena, of which that book actually is subtitled. And I think there's a connection there between the two.
Some of us may be squinting for UFOs, but what you're saying is they're in a different dimension.
In order for an extraterrestrial species to travel from one end of the universe to the other would take light years and hundreds of millions of years. They may have found a different way of getting through to us, or getting to our planet. I don't know, probably by bending space or folding space-time. But we're always naive in our assumption to say, well, they have to do it this way. But why should they? They may be millions of years in advance of us.
So there's no doubt in your mind that UFOs and aliens do exist.
Oh, yes, absolutely. You know, when we use the word alien, we picture immediately a little flying saucer with little legs and a green man. It is not like that.
What about as an idea? Do you think aliens are among us now,
Yes.
going around as humans?
Why not? It's plausible, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
I mean, if we had found an alien planet that's suitable for our means, and it was colonized, we'd find a way of melding in with that colony. Or I don't feel that we would go in there straight away and say, hello, we're from so, because we might be blasted to thy kingdom come, you know. I think they're just trying to get us to make ourselves aware of them from a conscious level, that they are there.
Philip, thanks for being my guest today.
Thank you very much
It's been a
indeed.
pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you very much.
And goodbye. See you next time.